What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a Great League team that I think is the best Great League team out there at the minute. This is, again, before Greninja Community Day, I was just sitting there watching Worlds, and I got super inspired to go play some Great League, which, if you know me, I rarely do. But I went on an immediate 9-1 rip. Could have been a 10-0 if I hadn't misplayed, I think. And the rip was amazing. So, gained some elo with this team, and I definitely think that this team could take you to Legend rank if you play your cards right. So let's take a look at the team here and check out these battles and see how I handle this team. Now, Deoxys, Umbreon is an extremely strong core. Deoxys Dugong is an extremely strong core. This team is also super bulky, and everything on this team is extremely safe and has a lot of play. So my opponent leads Trevenant. That is one of the worst possible things that I could see with my Deoxys. So I'm safe swapping into Dugong because it's the lesser of the two counters in the back. So Umbreon is the harder counter, Dugong is the less hard counter, but they do still have to worry about those icy winds. So now that I've landed a drill run out of the Lantern that counter swapped in, they don't shield it. Now they have to respect the drill run. They shield an icy wind instead, which means that they're going to have to go for Thunderbolt. They can't bait or anything here because the Thunderbolt won't even KO after the debuff. So Thunderbolt comes through, and I should still be able to get to a move here just by the skin of my teeth. And Dugong is going to fire off this drill run and potentially get shield number 2 from the opponent. And I do, so I get a shield advantage. And that's what's so strong about Dugong and Umbreon, is that due to their typing, their bulk, and their moveset, they are very often able to get shield advantage from my opponents. Now, I'm going to hard farm down this Lantern. I want to be able to throw a charge move into the Trevenant when it comes back in, and then I'm going to swap myself out into my Umbreon just to try and play out what's in the back. So we're going to do some chip damage with the Psycho Boost, and I want you to take notice of how much damage the Psycho Boost does. It does about 45%. Now that I've done a little bit of extra damage with my Umbreon with the fast moves before my opponent swapped, now I have the opportunity to, even if I have to, take a Psycho Boost and beat the Trevenant with it. Now, you'll notice on the graphic, I have Last Resort, and in the game, I have Psychic. I accidentally picked the wrong Umbreon for the first 2 games. Definitely would prefer Last Resort here. Now, I'm going to play this Pelipper matchup out. My opponent swapped in their hardest counter to, I mean, what I guess would be a water type. They didn't really have a hard counter to Umbreon in the first place, which makes this very interesting. I'm just kind of interested why they would do that in this team, but I also really underestimate the amount of energy that my opponent has here. I thought that it would be 5 for the next move. I am mistaken. It's always on a 4 cycle. So then my opponent comes in and snipes me with their Trevenant. My opponent making an absolute mockery of me and taking advantage of all of my mistakes. But because of how low we were able to get the opponent's Trevenant before, now the Psycho Boost is going to KO the Trevenant, and I should be able to get to one more Psycho Boost before the Pelipper gets to a charge move because they just threw their energy. The Psycho Boost is going to KO, and that is going to be a good first game. Hard countered in the lead and in the switch, but we were still able to make it out alive. Now, next game we get a really nice lead. Deoxys into Sandslash is a really nice lead. My opponent comes with an Azumarill, and I don't really have a hard counter for the Azumarill save swap, and of course I saw a bunch of Azumarills, that being the one thing that I don't have a ton of play against. So I have to stay in with my Deoxys, go for the Thunderbolt, and then I'm going to come in with Dugong because that's the more neutral option that I have here. We're both resisting each other's fast moves. I think I get to my charge moves a little bit quicker than they do. And I'm going to go for the extra energy here because I expect them to throw right away. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is that I have to keep my Deoxys or my Umbreon for the Sandslash. I'm perfectly fine to get Dugong off the radar here, I should say, so that it doesn't have to get matched up against the Sandslash. But I can also keep in mind that if my opponent lets me win this matchup, or if they hard swap into the Sandslash, they're going to have to fear this drill run because that does a bit of damage. It does do quite a bit of damage to the Sandslash. And then I have the alignment that I need. My opponent is just going to be able to throw a charge move. They've lured out my Deoxys, which may have been their intent from the start, to maybe they have another hard answer to it in the back. It's a Medicham. Medicham is not a hard answer to Deoxys. Deoxys actually has a ton of play against Medicham, being able to do doing neutral damage with its charge moves, and also it just walls Medicham much more effectively than Medicham walls it. So Ice Punches really don't do much here. Opponent comes in with the Azumarill, and I think we CMP tie here. And I throw this Thunderbolt. Goodness, my brain is escaping. I had a long day at work. By the way, I did nail the foam back up So I'm hopefully making a lot less of an echo here. I also got myself a nice little rug. So my opponent swaps in their Umbreon, and yes, normally Umbreon does get hard countered by Medicham, but because of the difference in HP, Medicham would not have been able to take out my Umbreon at that point. So good game to my opponent. I see a Shadow Victory Bell, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea what I'm going to do here. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for the Psycho Boost. This is going to guarantee me a shield, or it's going to obliterate the Victory Bell. Then I'm going to come in with Dugong as my less hard counter. The Ice Shards still add up very quickly, and I'm going to hope that they swap out now after getting the shield back. And they do, and they come in with Carbink. And this is about as miserable of a matchup as you could possibly be in, but I'm glad they came into it now instead of being locked on my Umbreon. That means that my Umbreon may have some play, and I want you all to notice too, charge move timing is very important. It's important to identify how many turns opponents' moves are, knowing how many your own are, and how many moves you can fit into those charge or fast moves to throw a charge move while not losing out on any energy or any damage, really. So I can't obviously do a full lesson in this video about charge move timing, but it's just one of those things that it's good to practice, and you'll notice that that is one of the things that I am very good at. So if you are interested in getting better with the charge move timing, you can look me up on Medify. I am going to be closed off of coaching until after GoFest, just because I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to just kind of relax and enjoy. I'm going to see my family. As you all know, I've moved away from my family for the time being. I'm going to go see them after the trip to GoFest, so that'll be an exciting time. Very much looking forward to it. Even though it's only been a few weeks, it's still nice to be able to go back. I'm overloading on energy. My opponent has Power Up Punch, and this is already looking very bad for me. I think this might be the loss, actually, because there's no way that this Medicham with a shield can possibly lose to me in my Umbreon. So I'm going to go immediately for this foul play here. They're probably about to take me out, and I kind of have to hope that they shield this, and then maybe Deoxys can do something, but they don't. So can I get this Psycho Boost? No. So actually, no. This is not a 10-0 possible run. That was just me getting clapped by Medicham with Power Up Punch. So speaking of Medicham, here we go again. Medicham is back on the field on the opponent's side once again, and they're staying in. This is not a comfortable matchup, again, like I said, for the Medicham, especially because I am running Thunderbolt. If I was running Rock Slide, this would be much better for them. Actually, I think they almost flip it, too. Like I said, I don't play a whole ton of Open Great League, so some of the matchups escape me, but I should probably get better at them because I have decided that I'm going to go to the Charlotte and Knoxville Regionals next year in February, end of January, early February, whenever it is. So if any of y'all are going to be there, let me know in the comments so that I can make sure that I can say hi. All right, so here's what I do with any time my opponent safe swaps in a Lantern. I go for Psycho Boost to chip, and then Umbreon is able to flip switch because of the damage from the Psycho Boost every time. Every time. So if you have a good lead with the Deoxys and you need to win switch, your opponent safe swaps in a Trevenant. The opponent's not respecting, or they're not respecting Trevenant. They safe swap in a Lantern, and you can just chip and dip. That's the plan. You chip and dip. And then that way you can keep the Dugong off of their Lantern, hopefully keep it off of their Medicham as well. I like to overload on energy. It's very good to keep track of the opponent's energy. Counting moves is a very important skill in the Go Battle League and even PvP in general, because it's helping you keep track of how much energy your opponent has. And once again, this charge move timing thing, also knowing how many of your fast moves you can fit in before your opponent gets to a charge move, right? So I know that I'm going to be able to get to at least one of these foul plays by throwing 3 Snarls. That's going to be within the 5 turns or so. Not 5 turns, 5 moves, I should say. That's 9 turns. That's going to be 5 moves. So my opponent quick swaps in their Medicham. I make no sense. I'm much better when I'm coaching, I promise. I make much more sense when I'm coaching and not being distracted by my gameplay. My opponent's going to come in with the Medicham. They're going to take out my Umbreon, but not before I can fire off that foul play to do some chip. And the opponent is going to go ahead and throw an Ice Punch here. I need to get some damage and or shields off, so I'm going to throw this Thunderbolt and hope that I get that nice shield. Even though Dugong is in the back, the Medicham is incredibly low, so this gives me an opportunity here to potentially even take it out with Dugong, but my opponent lets me, I think they let me, I don't know if they overfarm there or not, get to the Psycho Boost, and that means I'm going to be able to bring in my Dugong into their Noctowl, and my opponent is going to top left here. That is going to be a good game. And speaking of top lefting, if you guys ever face me, please don't quit. I actually had an entire day, I think it was Saturday, the day before Greninja Com Day. I tanked probably 300-400 points on purpose, but I only top lefted to the people who didn't quit. If you quit on me, you robbed yourself of a free win. And yes, some people are going to be like, well, I only want to win if I deserve it. Well, I don't give you that chance. If you decide to play it out, I reward you for it because, I mean, why not? What else am I going to do with this? I need to go lower. I need to get lower for better queue times because I don't really have the patience to push. So my opponent, by the way, made a really amazing catch here, catching that Thunderbolt on their Altaria. Unfortunately, my Dugong was able to really just hard punish and just straight farm them down. And I'm going to shield this move because I have so much energy that I can get a couple drill runs off, and the damage to me is worth a shield because my opponent can't farm down. They do absolutely have to throw another charge move in order to take out my Dugong. So to me, this is a worthwhile shield. So I'm going to start throwing some Icy Winds here. I want to make sure that this Azumarill is not willing to stay in, but my opponent hard swaps into a Sableye, and so I can get to this Icy Wind here before they're able to get to their charge move and or farm me down. My Umbreon gets to come in and manhandle this poor little ghost that could, and I think at this point, I just need to make sure I manage enough energy to take out that Azumarill. The opponent goes for the return, and with, with the Icy Wind debuff, that does a pitifully small amount of damage, so very, no, I'm just going to farm down here. Even if I take another return, I'm fine with it. I want this energy because I need those last resorts to take out the Azumarill. So, opponent's Azumarill is going to pop back in after this. They have 2 shields. They have to try and make something happen here. I'm going for this last resort because I want to get some chip damage off and or get that shield. Now, the opponent is within range of me taking out with a Thunderbolt with some counter damage, I do believe. So I'm going to let Deoxys come in. It's super healthy. I have a shield. I can tank any one charge move. My opponent knows this, and they decide to concede. Well played. Next game, we're going to have another Azumarill, and I have not seen as many Azumarill in my life as I did in these 2 sets. I swear, I have gone like 2 seasons of whenever I do play Open Great League without seeing more than like 1 or 2 Azumarills the entire time. Now I see like 5. And of course, it's against me when my team is not necessarily very strong. So I have to really focus on my neutral play of knowing my, knowing my energy, my counts, etc., to be able to really deal with Azumarill, because otherwise, this thing does have very positive matchups into my entire team. It's resisting the counter damage, it's resisting the ice damage, it's resisting dark damage, and it does have play rough. It has, neutral. It's neutral on my whole team. So they also have Hydro Pump, and that hurts. So I'm going to go for a Psycho Boost after focusing on, or farming up some extra energy here. I'm focusing on trying to get to a point where I can potentially bank a move or close to one. My opponent hearts, they counter swap Registeel into my Dugong. Can you talk to me about an algorithm being hard countered? This sucks, okay? But on the bright side, I have brought out the Registeel, and my Umbreon doesn't have to face it. And after 2 drill runs, it will be so low that my Deoxys can farm down. Now, unfortunately, my Deoxys probably is at a point where it will get farmed down. Deoxys has a very low HP stat, so when it's in the red, it's really in the red. It's like, lock-ons can farm it down. That's why that when you're using a Deoxys, you have to be very careful about things with 1-turn charge moves. So I let this move go. Opponent does not want to eat another move, so I'm going to try and farm down here, and I cannot do it, but I have to remember that they only got to about 7 lock-ons because they did 3 counters worth of lock-ons and then swapped out. So they're definitely in a range where I can farm down, as is this Azumarill. I shield once. I'm going for the energy. My opponent clearly does not like Umbreon in the back. They are coming in with their Azumarill to try and get my shield. They're coming in with a desperate Registeel, and they have an Alolan Sandslash in the back, playing Azumarill double steal, and Alolan Sandslash, due to having Shadow Claw, has a very bad time against Umbreon. So well played to my opponent. Opponent has Chestnut in the lead, gonna have a Frostlass, and I'm gonna farm up to 7 counters and swap to Umbreon to try to catch that Shadow Ball. Now my opponent throws the Shadow Ball, so that is a very good catch. Umbreon is an extremely hard counter to Frostlass. Let me know in the comments, by the way, if I don't know if I said it already, but I'm hoping the echo's better. Brain dead moment, forgot about it. Wanted to make sure that y'all gave me that feedback, because y'all gave me that feedback yesterday in the Greninja video was amazing, and it really helped me, know that I made a good choice here. So, opponent comes in with a Chestnut. My Umbreon is extremely healthy. Never mind, no, it's not. I was looking at the Chestnut's health bar. For some reason, that registered in my brain as Umbreon's. I don't know why. Anyway, goodness. Chestnut is looking to go for a full farm down here, but they've already taken so much damage, they're going to have to throw a move, or I'm going to be able to just take them out with this foul play. Now, what I'm looking to do here is I'm looking to pivot into Deoxys because they're looking for the farm down. They may not get it. One counter takes out Chestnut, and the opponent's got a Charizard in the back, and all I have to do is show him the Dugong if I need to, and that's a good game. Well played to my opponent. That snipe, when you can tell your opponent is going for a hard farm down, sometimes you can do that, and that cancels out their entire energy pool. Now, this is an important matchup. Umbreon safe swap, okay? Again, Dugong is the harder answer on Noctowl, so I'm going to bring in my Umbreon. Now, normally if the opponents are not running Power Up Punch Medicham, you can actually get a shield out of them if you're playing with good fast move timing, right? So 1, 3, 5, 7 is going to be the optimal move timing for 3-turn into 2-turn. If the opponent is running Power Up Punch, all you can do is do chip damage, unfortunately. There's not really any way to flip this or get a shield off of them unless they decide to shield this one, which would be kind of nice, which they might do. If you know, a slightly inexperienced Medicham player might shield this because they don't know that they survive it. So Deoxys comes into my opponent, hard swaps into Noctowl, canceling out their entire boost from the power-up punches. I'm going to come in with my Dugong here to really just try to get an energy advantage. You know, I'm going to go for a bunch of energy here. My opponent did have a bit of energy on that Noctowl, so that means they're going to get to a Sky Attack before I can get to the Icy Wind that I was about to throw. So farming up a little bit extra here. Going to go for this Icy Wind. That'll bring the Noctowl low and into farm range, and I should be able to farm down here, which I do, which is huge. Because now, this Medicham, okay, throw the Psychic. That's okay. They have Power-Up Punch. They're going to keep throwing Power-Up Punches. So I'm immediately going to go for the Icy Wind because I know they had some energy. I don't know how much, but I just want to get rid of this buff. Hard swap in my Deoxys. Opponent's got a Lickitung in the back, and this is very, very risky. Lickitung, again, we talked about the one-turn fast moves. Look how quickly it's just ripping through my Deoxys' HP. Now, thankfully, because I'm doing counter damage, it's also going to rip right through them as well. However, it's still going to be very close, and I have to spend my shield on a body slam. My opponent gets another body slam, but thankfully the defense stat of Deoxys is so high that I definitely live this. I'm looking to get some extra energy, going for the back-to-back Psycho boosts here. 1 for the Lickitung, 2 for the Show, 3 for the Medicham, and let's go. That was smooth, wasn't it? Yeah, I bet you like that. All right, Psycho Boost is going to almost take out this Medicham, and I'm going to come in with my Dugong to finish it out, and that's a good game. All right, next game we're going to have Deoxys and Clefable. Again, another very hard lead to deal with. Clefable is a very strong Pokemon now with Fairy Wind. Even in the Great League, y'all saw my Legend run last week with Clefable in the Ultra League. It's just a powerhouse. It gets to move very quickly, and it's very, very difficult to overcome if you're not physically, just hard countering it. So Moonblast is going to do a ton of damage. What I'm going to do here is I'm looking to shield once, and I'm going to go for a couple of Psycho Boosts, potentially go for the Thunderbolt here. I'm just kind of feeling out what to do with this particular matchup. I'm going to go for the double Psycho Boosts now just because I know that my opponent is that low, and they are going to let it go. They're going to take the shield advantage, and they have a Swampert. I'm immediately going to safe swap into my Dugong because my Deoxys is my Deoxys HP has been lowered, and I would rather get that Psycho Boost off against something else later on in the game. Now, my opponent swaps in their Sableye here, which, okay, I can see it because my Deoxys is that low that Swampert doesn't necessarily need to be too afraid of it, but this now is going to allow my Umbreon to come in and just manhandle this thing for energy. I'm going to be able to just pack as much energy as I like. Power Gem does not scare me. I'm going to go for the foul play right after this farm up, but unfortunately for me, they do get to a Power Gem before I get to the move, and I can only go for one more before maxing out energy, and then they come in with the Swampert, and now I have to be careful here because Swampert's extremely spammy. We both still have a shield, but I have a ton of energy that I can just let loose into the Swampert, and honestly, Sableye is getting pretty low. If I can get some farm or potentially snipe this Swampert with the Psycho Boost here, I'm looking pretty good. So I'm going to go for some extra farm. I waited a turn there to try and catch a Hydro Cannon, but my opponent showing immense patience. Very good for them. Held on to their energy to not throw. But now because they have like no HP, they have to throw or they're going to lose their Swampert. So I'm farming down with my Umbreon. I have a shield still. This team is so bulky, it almost never needs shields. It's actually insane. Medicham is the lead in the last game here. We're going to be seeing them pivot into a Lantern. Once again, you're going to see me go for the Psycho Boost and then dip to Umbreon. Then, afterwards, I'm just going to maintain my switch advantage because I don't want to get my Dugong locked into the Deoxys, or bleh, I can't think today, man. I had a long day at work. All right, please forgive me. I'm going to keep my Dugong off of their Medicham, and that's going to be able to allow me to hopefully take advantage of the fact there's probably like Noctowl or something in the back. Like, you think about it like an Umbreon, or not Umbreon, you think about a Medicham and what they normally have in the back. It's typically hard anti-Ghost, anti-Trevenant, you know, excuse me, and then also have anti-Flyer, which is this very popular team of Medicham, Noctowl, Lantern. What do you think they're going to have in the back, trainers? Let's take a vote right now in the comments in the last game before you even see it. Pause this video right now and let me know in the comments what you think they have in the back. I've at least asked for like 5 different things in the comments, so I'm expecting some good stuff. Anyway, going to be able to rip off one last foul play here before the Medicham counters me down, and that's going to leave it in a very, very susceptible state. And look, it's a Noctowl! And my opponent concedes the match. Well played. RPS'd a bit of the players here, but I just got inspired by watching Worlds, and I got a 9-1, you know, went 5-0. I thought that was pretty awesome because I'm really not that amazing in the Great League, but I was like, I love Umbreon. Deoxys core is really good with Dugong, and I really wanted to use my Dugong because I really haven't gotten to use it that much this season. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Check me out on Patreon, and you can join the YouTube channel and get the memberships as you go down Patreon. I'm also going to be on Metafy again starting next season in September. I'm going to be opening that back up, and I guess follow me on Twitter if you want to see some weird information stuff. I guess, I don't know. My Twitter is just kind of an abyss at the moment, but thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.